Good afternoon and welcome to yet another update about COVID-19 in Namibia by Namibia Media Holdings. With me is Joe-Marie Duddy, Chief Reporter for Business, Finance and Economics at NMH. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Donnie, and good afternoon, viewers.
We are once again, unfortunately, a bit delayed. The reason is because we want to bring you the latest information as we could confirm it regarding lockdown measures in Namibia. But before that, you will see we are sitting a bit farther apart than usual. So we're trying also to show the message of social distancing. And we've got some hand sanitizer. So we are quickly going. Ooh, it's very slippery when wet.
Do it properly.
We are also going to sanitize our hands properly. Do that before you do anything involving equipment you don't know, or as often as you can. Now, Joe-Marie, what is the latest news? There was a couple of important bits of news sent out during the course of today.
Okay, the absolute latest, of course, West Air. We've heard that they have retrenched 60 people. Now, that is 1 out of every 4 people who work for West Air, and it is stemming directly from the fact that West Air today had to announce that it's suspending all flights between Eros and Ondangwa. That's, of course, because of the lockdown. And then remember that they've already suspended their flights from Eros, Oraniemund to Cape Town. And that is one of the major concerns of economists around the whole lockdown, is that it will lead to massive job losses. Stay tuned a bit later tonight, of course, for the Business 7 program. We've spoken to economist Roland Brown, and he has a lot to say about the impact and mitigation around COVID-19. Also newsworthy today in Namibia, who announced that they're suspending all operations, and then a bit of
the 20th
yes,
April.
Of course. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And then, of course, a bit of good news in terms of relief. The city of Windhoek have said that if your water has been suspended, you can apply or register for it to be reconnected, and I think that relief is for a month.
Yes, some people are asking why do we have to report now to get it open again, but we suppose there has to be some admin. You can either phone the municipality of Windhoek, or you can visit their offices to reconnect your water. We are shortly going to show you an interview in a little while with Dr. Bernard Haufiku. He's, of course, the man selected by Dr. Agi Geingob to lead Namibia's response to COVID-19. Very important info he's going to share, so make sure you stay tuned. We're looking quickly then at the map of the World Health Organization, and that is just the latest data since the same time, more or less yesterday. 195 countries now. Joe-Marie, a lot of media and countries even are blocking maps and statistics like these because they believe it's fueling fear and panic. What do you think?
While I understand the way they think, I think it's exactly the opposite. I think it is uncertainty that is fueling fear, because you don't know the extent of the problem. Interesting also in that map, the dot for South Africa really becoming big, and South Africa, as from today, of course, the country in Africa that is the most affected.
Speaking about uncertainty, since yesterday there's been a lot of uncertainty in Namibia about what are the exact measures for the partial lockdown announced by government yesterday. We are going to point some of the important bits out again for you in a slide, 2 slides actually, so that we can just get that information to you as clearly as possible. Regarding travel restrictions that is to Comas and Irongo regions, not necessarily in, but excluding essential and or critical logistical, transport, medical and security services. So if you are none of that above, you can't travel into or out of the two regions that is going to be locked down. And now the important part, it is from Friday 27th of March. So sorry if even we communicated otherwise today. It starts on Friday. So in other words, 12 o'clock Thursday midnight,
Yes.
the lockdown begins, and it lasts until Thursday the 16th of April. Now many people, especially employers, also has questions about what are considered to be essential services and not. So let's take a look at those. Essential and or critical services. Before we go through them, very important, there's been no official communication in this regard in writing. We are still expecting it from government, but first of all, health services. But it's important, it's scheduled and critical. So it must be critical. If you had a non-elective procedure scheduled, so I chose to have a operation on my big toe.
Growing toenail.
Yeah, a grown-in toenail. You will not be allowed to travel into or out of Irongo and Comas. That will have to be postponed. So it's only for critical operations, for example, and medical care. We can tell you, Dr. Haufiku will state it a bit later. So what you have to do, if it's critical, then you have to ask your doctor to write a letter. You must, and he must submit the info to the police, your closest police station. They will give you a letter, and that letter will allow you to pass through roadblocks. Ambulance services, of course, can travel. Food will be transported. Water supply won't be interrupted. Power supply, the fire brigade, essential security services, they must still clarify that. And we have been assured that the media is considered an essential service in Namibia, although they're not gazetted yet as an essential service as far as we know. The media will be able to travel to do their job, and also to transport and distribute newspapers to all of the regions of the country from Comas region. So very important info there. Without further ado, Jo Marie, let's look at the information shared by Dr. Bernard Haufiku. He was interviewed a short while ago this afternoon by Denver Christie.
Joining me for an update, but also for some clarity on some of the burning issues, is none other than Dr. Bernard Haufiku. He heads President Hage Geingob COVID-19 task force. Good day, Doctor, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good day, and thank you for having me here.
Doctor, I know your time is very limited, so let's get straight to the chase. What brought these additional measures which were announced yesterday to the fore?
Well, as a country, Namibia, look at what is happening in the world. First of all, watching closely the development in our neighboring country, South Africa, where less than 2 months ago they had about 7 cases, and as we speak, we're having about 500 cases. And that's how rapidly this virus can spread. We're looking at another example like Italy, where about 2 months ago they had about less than 5 cases. They got more than 50,000 cases now.
Sure.
And more than they have now the majority of death tolls in the world, even surpassing Wuhan in China, where the virus started.
Very well.
Yeah.
So give me just... Yes,
so having those scenarios, we say we don't want to go there, and the best way to do is to go ferocious, to go full force, to go, all the way out.
Speaking of full force and going all the way out, what do these measures very briefly entail?
Basically, it's to lock down the country, starting with 2 regions that are the economic hubs, Irongo, Comas region, which obviously part of Harta, because we include Riobot. A lot of people work in Windhoek from Riobot. Okahanja is well included because a lot of people work here from Okahanja, which is in Osodonjupa. basically locking or closing down all the arteries feeding the region, Windhoek. That's the first step. And then we look at the city activity, like going to work. Now, I must say that the clarity is not yet on the table there, whether people must now stay in home or some must go out, or what is after we lock down the region. That's where now we need to clarify.
That's exactly part of the challenge,
Exactly.
Doctor. Starting with, when exactly does this lockdown for Commerce in Irongo start?
It starts 1 minute past 12 midnight from Thursday evening going into Friday.
So this Thursday after
Yes.
midnight, this lockdown for Commerce in Irongo will start.
Yes, 1 minute past 12 or second past 12. That's where it goes in work.
You did mention that this is the beginning, focusing on the two economic hubs.
Yes.
Is it being considered to place the rest of the country in a lockdown situation too?
In fact, some of the people from the technical team feel like, why not just lock the whole country at once? It's going to present a lot of logistical difficulty, and also considering that so far north of Namibia and west, where we haven't isolated the case. Doesn't mean that there's no case, but we haven't. So we think maybe we can contain it in especially Commerce region, but we want to create a bigger buffer. That's why we're including Erongo. That Erongo and Commerce are the most interacting regions at any time in Namibia.
Thank you, Doctor. Just very briefly,
Yes.
on the borders around these two regions.
Anything, whether now tight road, gravel road, coming in Windhoek or out, coming in Erongo, I mean in Commerce or Erongo, or getting out of that, all of the routes.
All arteries will be closed off.
To be plugged. Not entirely closed, there will be logistic and essential and critical services coming in and stuff, but largely close to public as per usual normal life.
Let's talk about these essential and critical services. What are we talking about?
Talking about anything relating to health, anything relating to food, anything relating to water supply or power supply, essential services supply like ambulance services, fire brigade, anything relating to that is considered essential, and we're not going to touch it.
And what about the media, Doctor?
Well, media is there to spread the message. If we stop it from working, then we actually diminishing our chance of success. The media will have to be on board.
Very well. We got a call from a viewer at the coast who says she has a scheduled operation this coming Friday,
Yes.
and she was going to travel early Friday morning with her husband accompanying her,
Yes.
being operated on and then being released over the weekend to return.
Yes.
Her husband will have to drive, seeing that she won't be able to drive after the operation.
Yes.
But then the lockdown has already kicked in. What happens to someone like that?
Well, first of all, if it's a scheduled operation, our hope is not what we call elective operation that can wait. If that is the case, I can almost guarantee that they will postpone it. If it is a scheduled operation and critical that we cannot postpone it, she and her family or husband will get what we call pass, sort of. They must just provide the information to the local doctor or police there, and when they come to the roadblock, their information will be in possession of police and they will be allowed to pass.
Very well, Doctor. Many businesses are concerned whether or not they should close down for, firstly, the 2-week working from home period or the 21-day lockdown period. Which businesses will be allowed to operate? If I am in the construction industry, for instance, will I be allowed to carry on with my business?
Well, they focus, and it's not on business really, it's the number of people at any given site and how those people interact. That's the focus. Now, logistically, it becomes so difficult that in many cases you can't control that over a large scale, and it still presents risk, and there are data proving to that, and we know history. South Korea has shown that. Wuhan in China has shown that even as back as 100+ years ago in the flu epidemic, it has been shown that if you go full force, you allow nothing to happen, you get a much better chance of success.
But what does that mean? Am I allowed to
What it
operate?
means is that you better stay at home, and one person out of the household go and buy food stuff. If somebody is sick, 2 people go to clinic also, or you call a toll-free number, etc. Minimize the outdoor life. That's what it really means.
So if I operate a business that is not an essential service,
Yes.
I'm not supposed to operate it?
You can operate it at a distance with technology, one way or another. We don't just want to tell people shut down. But we say the risk is higher if you don't shut down.
Because there are practical considerations,
Yes.
like in the construction industry, for
Yes.
instance.
Yes. Construction industries, and I have spoken actually to someone about that. It's difficult to control in my view. I'm not sure. I can't imagine any site that is having only 10 people working. Maybe well equipped with cranes and others that you can operate remotely. But in most cases, you will likely have more than 10 people to operate.
So, and other small businesses that also don't offer essential services, they should also close down for the meantime.
That is where the challenge is. Let's say I'm running a hair salon with only 5 people. And they were well distanced. Should I close? We'll hear finally from the committee and the office of the Attorney General as to what do they say to that, because they are the one who laid the framework.
Very well.
Yeah.
Doctor, we also know we're dealing, particularly in commerce, with the hepatitis E challenge.
Yes.
Are people who are susceptible to hepatitis E because of their living conditions also susceptible to COVID-19?
Anyone trapped in a poverty pool is susceptible basically to all types of disease. It's just a terrible situation to be in a poverty situation, and that's what we are doing in racing against time to make sure that this virus doesn't drop in Havana, Koreankab, or other places.
We'll be in trouble then.
It's an inferno if it starts there. That's what I tell you. It's like a bushfire in Australia or California. That's literally what is going to be.
Doctor, why do we have 2 different time periods for the lockdown starting at midnight on Thursday when it becomes Friday? It's 21 days. But as far as the working from home directive is concerned, it's only for 14 days. Why these 2 time periods?
I'm not sure, because you see, this is a cabinet directive and decision, and it didn't link so well with our activity as technical team. There was a little bit of a gap there. I would ordinarily expect it all be in one term for just clarity, because 14 days and 21 is a little bit confusing. But I think cabinet has got a reason why they put it that way. It's just that we didn't maybe have time to interact with them, deeply to understand the 2 differences, or the 14 and 15 days. Maybe I will just liaise with my colleague at the technical committee. I'm sure there must be someone who may be giving an explanation. As for now, I really can't answer that question.
Speaking of time, we know you're very busy, and before we let you go, we'd just like to wrap up. We also know that if you travel from a high-risk country and you're a Namibian coming back home and you're of course allowed to come back, you would need to go into a quarantine period of 14 days. We had a call from people who arrived, Namibians, back from Joburg, 3 flights in fact, and their temperature was taken, as is the practice. They were sanitized, and as they were waiting for their luggage, they were told that they can't proceed. And they don't know what is the situation, because officially we don't regard South Africa as a high-risk country yet.
Yeah, well, this is the answer. I was on the phone just before I came here, and I promised the caller from the airport that I will speak to the Ministry of Home Affairs and my colleague to understand how to put those people. You're quite right. So far, we don't put South Africa in the category of outside arrival that need to be quarantined. It need to be made clear. And before we do that, we can't possibly send someone for a quarantine, as we, even though we know the risk is there.
Yes, Doctor. What we can see, especially on our social media pages, that people are really worried and concerned. Is there a central person or central office which people can reach out to when they have further questions?
This is what we are running. When I say I'm running to the emergency center, we're setting up one step at a time, and it's tough because we have to have logistics, we have to have everything. And I feel somehow actually vindicated, because I have been pushing for this operations center to be equipped, to be staffed for the hepatitis E, so that if any other disease comes out, then we are fairly equipped. We struggled a bit, and that's why we are in this position. So we have to push it now, because we learned the hardest lesson now in terms of challenge. Get that operation center working, and all the information coming there through all sort of medias, electronic, print, radio, you name. It must come from one source, national source, and everybody must tap into that source.
Doctor, just finally, for people watching us at the moment who are concerned about their health but also about their livelihood, as a medical doctor and as the person heading the President's COVID-19 task force, what words of encouragement would you have for them?
I will caution, and I will tell them not to panic, despite the magnitude of the threat that is just at our doorstep, actually in our midst already. Still, don't panic. Let's remain calm. Let's understand the basics of it and how you protect yourself personally, your family, and your community. And simple things like we're saying. Don't come close. Practice social distancing. Wash your hand. Don't touch your face. Report symptoms when you are coughing, and when you cough, obviously cover your mouth. Get medical help. call the toll-free number. We are there for you, but please don't follow just any piece of information on social media. Try to get information from a authenticated source, and this is what we're putting up. Hopefully by Friday or so, we are running this sort. And hopefully together, if we pull together as a country, we'll get over this. There's no doubt about it.
Dr. Tapandlo Nene, thank you very much for your time and your effort, and best of luck.
Thank you very much.
There you have it, Dr. Bernard Haufiku. He's heading President Hage Geingoob's COVID-19 task force, sharing some information with us and also providing much needed clarity.
That was the man himself with a very important job, Dr. Bernard Haufiku, in charge of Namibia's response to COVID-19. Jamie, just before I get to you, we are looking at comments. Viewers are posting. Chaka Lever Ruska is asking, why does all companies lock down except, I'm not going to give the name, the place where I work, but that is true. Is not true. All companies are not locking down. Thandiwe Swarts wants to know, does it mean I should not drive from Isakos to Swakopmund? That is, of course, within the Erongo region. So I think the message is clear. Don't travel if you don't have to. Stay at home if at all possible. So you most probably will be able to travel, but if you don't have to, don't do it. It is for your own protection, as well as also to keep other Namibians safe. From the messages and info by Dr. Haufiku, Jomri, what is the one thing that struck you?
Well, I always appreciate his frankness. We saw that when he was the Minister of Health too. And what struck me is, yes, there are answers and there are clarity to some issues, but that there still are grey areas. That is very obvious, and that leads to a lot of confusion.
Yes, unfortunately it does. For example, in terms of construction,
yes,
he used the number 10 employees, but he also emphasized that there's no official number yet. The committee still have to make a decision. So unfortunately it seems that business people will have to wait until tomorrow once again for those extremely important details. Very quickly also, Josephina Shilongo, she's asking people should not come in via boats, in other words ships, passenger ships. If you haven't read that news yet, our ports actually at Walvis Bay and Lüderitz are both closed, same as our other border posts with neighboring countries, apart obviously for essential transports like food, etc. Up next, stay tuned. We are going to show you some of the material sent to us by our journalists from the different regions.
Why was that communication not given in advance? Yes, that communication was supposed to be communicated in advance.
Yes, you know, the announcement is needed. It's a global concern, but also it's a local concern in terms of business operations when it comes to small to medium enterprises, because they've announced a lockdown, but then there are certain things that they have not announced yet, which we are hoping from the business community, small business community. We're waiting to hear what interventions the government are going to put in place.
It's like it's confusing, because like for us, like living in Achterland, like, okay, people that are using public toilets, and like obviously we go fetch water. We don't have water in our houses, so we have to go fetch them. Now, how do we cope with that? I don't know. exactly how. And the other thing is like, if they like decide for the schools, we don't know yet when the schools are going to reopen. So like for people that are working with kids like kindergartens, how do they get paid? There will be no payments.
It's actually a more serious case than some people make it off to be. I think the lockdown is actually a very good plan. In fact, I think that only the Khomas region being locked down, I think that's a little bit too small because the coronavirus spreads exceedingly fast. So if from my perspective, I think the whole Namibia should be in lockdown. But if I see it from my perspective, I'm only a small business owner. So if we have to lock down for 21 days, I know that's going to be crucial for our business because you can't pay your expenses that well and your people. So in the one hand, you have this severe virus that's taking a lot of lives, and on the other hand you have your business to look out. So I think in this time it's crucial for all of us to take hands and help each other, see where we can help the other one that maybe struggles, the smaller businesses, everybody come together. So this next few weeks I think is crucial for everybody just to come together and bring their parts.
Corona is nie vir ons lekker nie, is nie vir ons lekker om te weet hoe dit Namibia affekteer nie. Ons hier by Namib Garage probeer ons staf veilig hou, ons het al die precautions gedoen. Ons laat die mense sanitize voor hulle by die winkel inkom en ons probeer regtig om te help dat dit nie verder versprei nie. En ons hoop dat ons land die beste doen wat hy kan en ons almal hierdie virus net stop.
Hier met Maggie en Bill Ackerman van Vulcanize en hulle gaan vir ons 'n bietjie vertel hoe hulle vaar gedurende die coronavirus uitbraak. Bill, kan jy gou vir ons vertel, is daar enige voorsorgmaatreëls wat julle gaan tref?
Ons op hierdie stadium doen obviously hand sanitizers gedurende transaksies waar ons geld ontvang. Na ons die geld ontvang het, sanitize ons self en ons sanitize obviously ons kliënte om hulle hande skoon te hou. Waar ons hulle kos afgegee en sanitize hulle weer as hulle graag by ons wil eet, sodat hulle hande skoon is wanneer hulle eet. En ons het teendeel eintlik so 'n bietjie van 'n lekker humor in dit gehad. Ons het vir die keel ook sanitizer gehad wat ons ingespuit het om die mense 'n bietjie se keel ook skoon te maak met 'n bietjie alkohol. En dit was eintlik 'n groot grap geweest en ja, dis ook nou oor.
Okay. En ons is nou offisieel gesê ons is nou onder lockdown, Khoma streek en die Rongo streek. Maar julle gaan oop bly tydens die lockdown. Hoe gaan julle dit beman?
Ons gaan oop bly. Ons is net ons klomp binne in die bus en ons tref voorsorgmaatreëls obviously dat ons weet almal in die bus is alright. En ons het mos nie groot gatherings nie. Van klomp mense wat op 'n slag by ons aankom nie, en as hulle bestellings plaas kan hulle in hulle kar sit, wag vir hulle produk, ons roep hulle in elk geval en hulle kom haal dit en weg is hulle.
Okay, baie dankie, sterkte.
Dankie.
To me, it's a good idea because whereby people they are talking about this, so people who are infected in Khoma.
Yes.
It's good to lock down so that the virus cannot spread widely.
Okay.
So far they're supposed to block also the roadblock whereby people from Khoma cannot come outside and people cannot go in Khoma also.
Okay. And about the panic buy, people going to buy a lot of stuff in fear that the shops might be closed also?
Yeah, on the other side, it's good because we don't know where Corona it will end. Maybe it won't end soon. Then the shop will be closed. Now people they could just go buy a lot of food, just to spare food in their houses. Now on the other side is also bad, whereby people they are going to buy a lot of food. Maybe soon Corona it will just like disappear or it will end immediately. Now it's also negative. It is going to infect the people in their houses.
Okay, no, thank you very much.
We will shortly also show you video material from both Tsumeb and Otjivarongo. Before that, Jo Marie, yes, it's so positive, the request. We have to stand together now. There are businesses that are trying or planning to stay open. And we again repeat, Dr. Haufiku said, it's not about the kind of business, it's about your size. So if you have a small business and you can manage things properly, maybe even people now providing food, which is important because food is an essential, but we will have to wait for the
Yeah, that
detail
remains a bit of a grey area.
tomorrow. We started with that scene. It was actually received from not from a journalist, about the buying this morning in Windhoek, and we've seen it in a lot of places in the country, panic buying. Very short, what's your take on that?
Indeed, there's been widespread reports of panic buying since yesterday. I've actually spoken to the MD of a big retailer today, and he said it was absolute chaos in terms of panic buying. He also says it doesn't help if you try and reassure the public that there will be more supplies, there will be a constant flow of supplies. It is an absolute feeding frenzy. But all the suppliers we have spoken to have assured us that they've actually got extra capacity, trucks and logistics, to ensure that they bring food and essential
I think
stuff
what
in.
people are also trying to do is, for this 2 weeks you have to stay at home, or the 3
Try and
week
limit
lockdown,
that
people
exposure.
are trying just to get enough stuff so that I don't have to go to the shop too often. So we must also understand that. But we'll probably see that continuing tomorrow, because it's the last day in these two regions before the lockdown, in Khomas and Irongo. Mutatio Carstens asks, I'm from Khomas and I am out of the region at the moment. Will I be allowed back in? It depends what work you are doing, most probably, if you are in essential services or not. We are not sure, so we are very honest about that. So we would, our message would be return beforehand, return tomorrow. And people will have to be very careful on our roads tomorrow as well, because we'll probably see a lot of traveling and commuting in and to and from, especially the two regions that are going to be locked down. Very quickly, also James Peters. Now I see a bit of humor here also. That's what I loved about the video, also the humor that's still there. He's asked if churches can also operate after 6 o'clock if they have if they are not more than 50. So that's comment on the whole Shebeen issue. So if the Shebeens must close at 6, must the churches also not meet? That's still an ongoing topic. Up next, quickly, some views from both Otjiwarongo and Tsumeb.
I'm Merlin Kaises. I'm a Tsumeb resident, and I'm very happy about the lockdown because it is going to prevent this disease and it is going to prevent the spread of the virus even. So I'm very happy about the lockdown.
Hello, I'm Gerhardus de Preem and I'm living in Grootfontein in the northern parts of Namibia. And I do think that people should take the virus more seriously than they do. I see in town most of the businesses are doing their best to sanitize hands, to keep distances, which is great. But I think it boils down to the individual to just do your part as well. We see a lot of people still hugging, greeting each other. I mean, which is not a problem, but I think, you know, now is the time to keep your distance. Anyway, the reason why I'm saying people should take it more seriously is because I'm working in China at the moment and I literally came for holiday. And just after 2 days, I landed in Windhoek on the 22nd of January, and then 24th of January, China went into lockdown and I couldn't go back. I've been working from home for more than a month now, which is not as nice as people would think. I miss the routine. But having news or getting news from China and my colleagues who are still there, I know that things are really, really rough. and China has things under control. But the reason why they have things under control is because they handle the situation really, really strictly. I know of a campus close to my campus where I work, where people have been in lockdown and isolation for 2 months already. Since the 24th of January, they had to put markets inside the campus so that people could buy food. They couldn't leave the campus. They're still there. And there are many instances like that in China where people literally can't leave their apartment complexes, their campuses. People can't go back to work. They only get 40% of their salary as the government requires. It's not good. And I think we really can sort of fight this if we stand together and everybody do their best and act as a responsible citizen of the country. That's just my opinion, but take care and be safe.
About the lockdown, I think they're doing a good job, basically about the lockdown, and because the disease is very serious.
Okay, so today we are visiting here in Otjiwarongo, and we have the privilege of speaking to Ms. Vicky Hugh, and she is part of the Alzheimer Old Age Home here in Otjiwarongo. So Vicky, please tell us a bit about some of the measures you have in place to protect our elderly.
Okay, we have basically 3 different systems. You've got the lock up and go. That's where people live in a bungalow and they are free to go as they like. Then we've got 2 frail care units. We've got a semi-frail care unit, and then the new hospital was supposed to open now 1st of April, but it will not be finished because of the lockdown until July.
Yeah.
In the frail care units, we have very strict measures for the staff. Everybody has to wear masks. They have to wash their hands frequently. They have a disinfectant every time when they go into the room.
Yes.
They disinfect their hands. The same is applicable to the kitchen. The kitchen must wear masks at all times. My residents living in the bungalows, we are locked down. No one may leave the premises.
Yeah.
But we do daily shopping, should they require something.
Wonderful.
They all have masks, so they can come out and sit in the garden. They can still socialize under each other. Each and everyone has a mask. And if they keep their distance, they don't have to wear the masks.
Yeah.
That's basically all I can do.
Tell me, what is your opinion on the current lockdown that we have in the Khomas region and in the Erongo region?
Excellent. Excellent. That's the only way you can prevent the virus from spreading.
Yeah.
We had a full lockdown for the Alzheimer as from Sunday.
Yes.
We handed out masks before and asked the people to please restrict going to town. But since Sunday, we decided to lock down completely.
Yeah. So here you take a very proactive way in preventing this virus instead of completely reacting.
Yeah. We have regular meetings with the residents. We update them constantly over what the situation is. And seeing that we get newspapers, we spread the newspapers and they can read themselves. Yeah, that's the only thing we can do.
Yeah.
Is we can just try and keep the people calm. They are aware that we are doing it for their protection.
Yes.
I live on the premises, so I personally may not leave as well.
Yeah.
I'm also restricted. So, yes, that's all we can do.
Thank you so much for the work that you do in protection.
My 7-seater, I'm driving Swakop from Otjiwarongo to Walvis Bay. You see how this corona will affect my transport is, where will I get customer that is going to Walvis Bay now? All the people, they don't want to come and go to Walvis Bay just because of this coronavirus. What I want to know is, what is this coronavirus? From where it is coming from? Now is our business is locked down because of this coronavirus. What must we do? Can we get some help for this coronavirus so we can drive our transport again?
Show me, yes, the whole business issue coming back time and time again. And also very interesting for me, that perspective from a Namibian that is actually locked out from China. That was very interesting. Yes, what was the most important bit in that?
Well, obviously, working in business, I listen with a keen ear as soon as business owners start talking about it. And it's wonderful that people are mostly very supportive of the lockdown and the measures being taken, because those are health interventions and they are important ones. However, I don't think that Namibians yet have the slightest idea of how this is going to impact business, and from business to consumers, or households rather. And that is why I think it's of absolute crucial importance that government just makes some kind of statement that they are working on a fiscal plan and a stimulus plan and support packages, because right now that is fueling a lot of uncertainty, especially in the private sector.
Yeah, Dr. Agi Gangop called it a solidarity fund yesterday. We are wrapping up, but you must stay tuned, because we are going to put a very important challenge to each one of you watching. Now, I was in the city center here today, and I had to withdraw money. So we're showing you a video now of where I ended up in our lovely city of Windhoek. And you can see there these big stickers on the floor. That's of course Standard Bank. They are, I think, at least a meter apart, and so that's to drive home the message of social distancing. And there's actually some tips also, health tips about COVID on it. So I think well done, Standard Bank. I walked in that same, it's quite a smaller mall, a bit down, and unfortunately saw businesses, and some has very huge names, where there's no social distancing, even with people sitting in chairs next to each other waiting to be helped. So our challenge is first to business. And because we are going into lockdown, and we will keep on doing our jobs, but to protect journalists, we might also move around less. Please use our WhatsApp number. We are showing it to you now. And our challenge to businesses is make your own video in this format that you see now, the normal TV format. Share it to us and share your message. What are you doing at your business to make sure that we protect each other from COVID-19? And the challenge is not only obviously to businesses. Please, if you are watching, share your own messages. People will be staying at home. Make a little video and says, this is how I'm keeping myself busy. Show how you're working at home. Share positive messages with us, and we will of course gladly share it in this show of ours. Just on the record, I can tell you that Namibia Media Holdings has already prepared. Obviously we are essential services, but from the media side, this side in Eros in Windhoek, about 40% of all our staff will be working from home from Friday, or hopefully as soon as possible thereafter, from Monday, if we can't get it right immediately with technology. Obviously newsprint, printing our newspapers is more of a factory a setup, industrial setup, so that is not possible. What we are going through the entire lockout, use not only print but all these additional platforms to inform you. And then very quickly, sorry, coming back to being positive, we're sharing, so that you must also WhatsApp to us, to that same number, 0811 7010. Share us some positive things, video or photographs we can share with people. We're showing you a picture taken by Lisa van der Merwe. And these lilies, this photo she says she took in Kavango region. And then also another beautiful photograph by Rihanna Petu from the Plaas Okatete. That's about 50 kilometers outside of Achivarongo. Very misty.
Very misty.
It almost looks foreign, Jo Marie.
It does look foreign, but it looks absolutely lovely.
Yes, so let us also help each other to stay positive. Share your videos, photos, messages from all over Namibia. And thank you for everyone that watched the show today. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 o'clock. But before we say goodbye, we are going to sanitize.
Stay calm and sanitize.
There you go, Jo Marie. And this time I will try not to let the bottle slip. So yes, remember, keep safe, follow the 4 basic hygiene tips. Don't spread COVID-19 or any other virus, and especially don't spread fear.
Yeah, good evening. Stay safe.